Could you guys share with us, what does legacy mean to you?
Well, these are our legacy. Our legacy is not only what we leave behind when we're gone from this earth, but also as we develop into human beings, we're always developing those who come behind us, whether a teacher is developing a student, parents developing their children, and raising them to know our God, to know our Savior, and to be able to grow up and raise other people. The legacy just continues on and on. So this is our legacy.
I was curious to hear a little bit more of your story. I haven't even really heard your background story of what led you guys to Legacy in the first place.
Well, I heard about Legacy through a homeschool group that I'm in. When I first got pregnant with Millie, I decided, I wanted to try homeschooling. I'd always been passionate about education, even though I have no education in education, but my husband is a professor, and so I thought between the two of us we could at least cover elementary school. But when I moved to Texas and was pregnant for this one, I joined a homeschool group, and they have a Facebook page. And I don't remember if it was the Florskowskis or somebody from Legacy decided to advertise on the different homeschool pages, and that's how I saw, there's this university model school. So I went to it wasn't UMSI at the time, it was just UMS.org or whatever site, and read about what the university model is. And then I came to an information meeting pretty early on last year, and I loved it. So I brought my husband to the next one, or sent him to the next one, I think. And then we went to another one together. And as we discussed it, it just fit our lifestyle perfectly. It was the best of homeschooling, where we get the freedom to spend a lot of time with our children, develop them in their spiritual life, as well as teach them some things that we wish we had learned. Having been in more traditional schools, there are things that we feel like we missed, and to be able to pour that into them, and also have accountability with a staff and teachers, making sure that we're keeping on track to where we need to be, doing a lot of the legwork that we don't find exciting, like making sure we're doing all the state qualifications. Have a seat, Millie. You can talk to me. The state qualifications and getting testing and make sure they graduate, and all of that, technical stuff that it's not the fun part of homeschooling. It's, the job part of homeschooling. And this takes that out of the equation, so that we know where they are. It adjusts to their level as well. So if they're, not, I don't want to say behind, because every child develops at a different rate. But if they're at one level in reading and a different level in math, that's not a problem. It's similar to homeschooling in the fact that they can weave in and out of that child's own personal strengths and draw them up where they're weak and let their strengths really shine. And the parents are super involved. I love that. Any school, a parent can get involved to a certain level, but there's also bureaucracy that kind of can get in the way of some things. Like, you can't necessarily do all the things a parent wants to do. You can't say, I'm going to take a 3-day field trip with my kid because you missed school. But with the university model, I can take a 4-day weekend and miss no school whatsoever. I can take them over to the Alamo and walk them around without having to do it during spring break when the whole world is there. and that just really, really appealed to me. So,
Great.
So many things. I could talk forever about it. I love it.
Reba and Edward also serve us by helping with our library. Reba's our librarian, and Edward has also helped us just filter through the amazing amount of books that were donated. And we're just so grateful for all the time and effort that they've invested here as well. And Edward is a professor at LeTourneau with his degree in physics. And we just really value his perspective as a professional academic educator. Edward, would you just share your perspective of how university model benefits the child long-term and into collegiate years?
Sure. Yeah, I teach introductory physics courses for a large number of freshman and sophomore level students who enter at LeTourneau University. One thing that you realize as students make the transition from the high school level to the university level is that the skills that you need to function in a university setting are different than the skills that are being taught today at most high schools. The problem that students have isn't so much their academic preparation, their preparation in specific disciplines, it's more their ability to function independently, to understand how to set their own schedules, to understand how to create their own priorities. Self-direction is a skill that isn't being taught quite as much today as it was maybe 20 or 30 years ago. So even as their preparation in specific academic areas can still be quite strong, they often don't have an expanded set of skills they need to actually be students. And so it's important to me that students learn how to be students in a setting that progressively gives them more and more independence. And that isn't something that many portions of the current educational system do particularly well today. I was impressed by the University Model School approach toward education because it tries to make sure that students are forced to do that very early on in ways that don't happen all at once, don't involve some kind of a system shock where you get thrown into a strange new world, but instead can be carefully monitored by people who care about them, and at the same time place higher and higher expectations in those students so that by the time they're to the end of their elementary and high school education, they've already done a huge number of things that they'll need to be successful at a college or a university and even beyond that point.